This is the PS5 or Digital Edition that I have now owned for exactly 1 year. It cost me £360 and I'm so glad that I purchased this console. However, there are some major issues that you definitely do need to know about. The biggest issue with all of these next generation consoles, and that includes the Xbox Series X and S, is the lack of internal storage. Modern games are huge due to their complexity and also their massive 4K resolution textures. And for the first few months of ownership, the internal storage on the PS5 was a huge disappointment. It's not even 1 terabyte like on the Xbox Series X, it is only 825 gigabytes, of which only 667 gigabytes is usable after the operating system. And everybody laughs at the Xbox Series S for only having a 512GB SSD, but the PS5 isn't that much better. However, although this time last year this was a major issue as Sony didn't have a solution for people to upgrade the storage, this since has changed when Sony unlocked the ability for you to upgrade the internal NVMe SSD, providing the ability for gamers to switch out the SSD for larger ones like a 2TB or 4TB, which has been a total game changer. Although there is a lot of hassle involved in this process, you have to take the console apart, install the SSD, and also do a fresh install of the PlayStation operating system. It is a much more cost-effective solution compared to the proprietary Seagate expansion card for the Xbox. As because it is just a standard NVMe SSD, you can shop around online and find a cheap and fast one to do the job. I personally have not upgraded the internal storage yet on the PS5 because I just haven't had time to go through that long process that I just described. And for me, the Seagate expansion card, although more expensive, has been more suitable because I can just literally slot it into my console and start gaming. I've just continued using an external 6TB hard drive which stores all of my PS4 games on, and I transfer my PS5 games onto it once they are finished and completed, and it works great. Next, let's talk about games. Now, for my first few months of ownership of the PlayStation, I didn't have that many games to play. I found that the PS Store was taking advantage of people with the digital console, as because we don't have a disc drive, we don't have the ability to just pop out to our local game store or go onto Amazon to purchase a disc for a lot cheaper. And because we don't have this other choice, it gives Sony all of the power to dictate the price, as you literally have 2 options. You either pay the extortionate prices for the games so you can use your brand new console that you've anxiously been waiting for, or you can purchase no games and just use your PS5 for Netflix. Honestly, prices are outrageous on the PlayStation Store, sometimes up to £70 for a digital copy when you can get the same games for £30 or less on a disc. So I refused to pay these prices and I sat around waiting for a sale. So at the start, I only had a few games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Metro Exodus, and the titles that were included in the premium collection with PlayStation Plus. And on the topic of the PS Plus collection, I think this is absolute garbage. You get great games like God of War, Uncharted 4, Days Gone, all those other types of things, but they're from the PS4. I'd already played those games on my PS4. I don't need to go ahead and play them again on my PS5, and some of them, like Uncharted, are just basically the PS4 Pro version. So you're playing an old generation version of a game on the new one, and if you want to play Uncharted 4 on your PS5, got to buy it again. So to be truthful, that PlayStation Plus collection is just a load of marketing rubbish. To thank you for buying your PS5, we're going to give you a load of old PS4 games to play on there. Other than God of War, that's the only one that's been updated to get the most out of your new PS5. Sony could not be more evident in basically ripping you off with the prices in this PS Store, and it made me lose interest in the console after a few months, and it made me view Sony in a different light. And instead, it made me go and play on an Xbox Series S, which is a worse console. It's cheaper, the specs are worse, it doesn't play in 4K, it's got terrible resolution compared to the PS5, but I could play Game Pass for £10 per month, get loads of games, and in a weird way, it kind of felt like Microsoft cared about the gamers because of how good of a deal it was, when really, I know Microsoft just want your money, but it just didn't feel as dirty as when I was purchasing games on the Sony Store. That just made me feel a bit sour. Also, if you think you can buy cheap game codes online, you can't. You are required to purchase an entire PlayStation account from somebody if you want to bypass the PlayStation Store. But when a sale does hit, it does yield some very tidy discounts, up to 60% off very good games in the recent summer sale. And I went crazy in this sale and purchased more PlayStation games than I have ever done in the past few years. And finally, almost 1 year later with this console, I've actually started to play it more than my Xbox. When you can actually buy PlayStation games at a reasonable price, there are some fantastic franchises. Spider-Man, Uncharted, Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, Ratchet & Clank. The list just goes on and on and on. And one of my favorite things is that most of these games are single player. And incredible single player story games is something that we lack in a world of microtransaction obsessed free-to-play multiplayers rammed with season passes and battle passes. This is where the PlayStation 5 gameplay is at its best, sitting back and relaxing while playing through an immersive world with insane visuals on a 4K HDR TV. Environments that are absolutely breathtaking and mind-blowing to explore, a sense of endless possibilities as you transcend through each level. The PlayStation 5 puts you into a video game that feels like a real-life movie, and that's something that the Xbox doesn't do. The Xbox is great, but it's definitely more orientated around multiplayer. You've got Halo, Gears of War, and you hop on with your friends to just have a blast and a laugh. But the PS5 has that ability to not just make you forget about the real world and your problems in your life for a few hours, but teleport you into different universes, different moments in time, and a different frame of mind. And although it hurts me and my wallet to spend $50, $60, $70 on a PlayStation game, in a weird way, it's kind of worth it. All of this was also enhanced by the Dualsense Controller. I love this controller so much. It fixes a lot of issues with the PS4 Dualsense, especially the LED light that used to reflect on your screen. But some of the great new features, such as the adaptive triggers, are so much fun, and I love that the tension changes depending on the weapon that you're using. So if your character has a bow and arrow, you can actually feel the tension of them pulling it back and releasing it. It's unbelievable, especially for some of those single-player games, and it adds that extra layer of immersion. Furthermore, the detail in the controller vibrations has definitely been improved and enhances things like footsteps and also the textures of the environments, giving you much more feeling for your surroundings. The only thing that does suck is the battery life. I feel like I'm constantly charging up all of my controllers, and also the internal speaker. The novelty of this has kind of worn off. It doesn't feel as cool as it did back on the PS4. Now, over the next year, there are some massive changes coming to the PlayStation, which includes PlayStation Plus. PlayStation Plus is evolving to 4 different tiers. We've got Essentials, Extra, Premium, and Deluxe. This is in an attempt to compete with Xbox Game Pass, providing people with a library of games that they can play for a monthly subscription. Part of me feels a little bit apprehensive about how successful this is going to be, and that's because there's way too many options. There's 4 options to choose from with different things included at different prices, and if it reminds me a bit of the Xbox 360. You remember on the Xbox 360 how you had Xbox Live Gold, Xbox Live Silver, and also Bronze? There was all these different tiers and you got different features at different price. I feel like there's probably a reason why Microsoft don't have that model anymore and they literally just have Game Pass as the monthly subscription. At this moment in time, it feels like there's way too many options to choose from, and they need to streamline it to literally just PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Plus Premium. Also, with the upcoming release of the PSVR 2, along with 5 AAA franchises releasing huge VR games, the future looks very promising for this generation of gaming. I will be purchasing one of these headsets, so make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this and my upcoming review when this headset finally launches. And although I have been quite negative towards Sony's business practices within this video, that doesn't mean that I hate the PlayStation 5. I just regret purchasing the all digital edition, and if I were to have my opportunity again, I would definitely get the one that has a disc drive. If you're unsure whether you want to buy a PlayStation or an Xbox for this generation, I highly recommend that you check out this video next, where I share my thoughts on using the Xbox Series S for an entire year.